Growing up, I always knew I was different in my stepmother's eyes. After Dad married Margaret when I was 12, she made it crystal clear that her biological daughter Emma was the golden child, while I was just there. An inconvenience she tolerated because I came with a package deal. Emma had always been the princess. Private schools, piano lessons, designer clothes, college fully paid for. Meanwhile, I worked part-time jobs throughout high school just to buy my own school supplies. When I graduated, there was no college fund waiting for me. "You're smart enough," Margaret said with a dismissive wave. "Figure it out yourself." So I did. I joined the military at 18, desperate to escape and build something of my own. While Emma partied through 4 years of college, I was deployed overseas, earning my degree online between missions. The work was dangerous, but it gave me purpose. More importantly, it gave me skills that would change everything. By the time I returned home at 26, Emma was engaged to some trust fund kid named Bradley. The wedding planning consumed Margaret's entire world for 8 months. Every conversation revolved around flowers, venues, and guest lists. Emma's dress cost more than my entire military salary for 3 months. "Of course you'll be in the wedding," Emma said sweetly when I asked. I felt a flutter of hope. Maybe things were changing. Maybe I was finally being included. That hope died quickly. "You'll be helping in the kitchen," Margaret announced at the rehearsal dinner. "We need someone to coordinate with the caterers." In the kitchen, I blinked confused. But I thought, the wedding party is family. Margaret cut me off coldly. "Real family." The words hit like a slap. Emma said nothing, just examined her manicure. Dad, as usual, stayed silent. He learned years ago that fighting Margaret only made things worse for everyone. On the wedding day, while Emma got ready in a luxurious bridal suite surrounded by her bridesmaids, I found myself in the venue's cramped kitchen at 6 a.m. Margaret handed me an apron. "The caterers will be here soon," she said briskly. "Make sure everything runs smoothly, and stay out of sight during the ceremony. We don't want any distractions." I spent the morning hauling cases of champagne, arranging hors d'oeuvres, and directing confused servers. My dress shirt was stained with sweat, my shoes pinched my feet, and I hadn't eaten anything since dawn. Through the kitchen's small window, I watched guests arriving in their elegant attire, laughing and embracing. I recognized my own relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins who used to include me in family gatherings before Margaret's influence slowly pushed me to the margins. Now they barely acknowledged my existence, too focused on maintaining their relationship with the family's new matriarch. During the ceremony, I stood behind the kitchen doors, listening to the beautiful music and heartfelt vows through the thin walls. I thought about all the family weddings I'd dreamed of as a child, imagining myself walking down the aisle someday with Dad beaming proudly. Now I was 28, single, and apparently too shameful to even sit in the back row. The reception was even worse. Margaret kept me running constantly. "More wine for table 6, the cake needs to be moved. Why is table 12 missing salad forks?" I watched Emma dance with Dad, saw him tear up during his father-daughter speech about how proud he was of his girls, plural, though clearly I wasn't included in that category. "You missed a spot," Margaret hissed, pointing at a small spill near the bar. She thrust a towel at me. "And after you clean that, we need more ice from storage." "Margaret," I said quietly, exhaustion making me bold. "I'd like to at least eat dinner with the family, just for a few minutes." She stared at me like I'd suggested burning down the venue. "Absolutely not. You're working. The staff doesn't eat with the guests." "I'm not staff. I'm family." "You're not really family," she whispered, her voice dripping with venom. "You never have been. You're just some burden your father brought into our lives. Now get that ice before I have you removed entirely." I stood there for a moment, towel in my shaking hands, watching Emma laugh with her new husband while our relatives celebrated around them. Dad caught my eye briefly from across the room, and I saw something flicker across his face, guilt, maybe a regret. But he looked away quickly, returning his attention to his champagne. That's when the phone rang. The venue coordinator rushed over with a cordless phone, scanning the crowd uncertainly. "I need to find, She checked a piece of paper. "Major Thompson? There's an urgent call." Major Thompson. That was my rank, though I'd never mentioned it to anyone here. I was just David to them, disappointing stepson David, burdened David, David who wasn't really family. That's me, I said, taking the phone. The coordinator's eyes widened in surprise. The voice on the other end was crisp, professional. Major Thompson, this is General Martinez calling from the Pentagon. I apologize for interrupting your evening, but we have a situation developing in Eastern Europe. Your expertise in cyber warfare is needed immediately. I was vaguely aware that the music had stopped. Conversations were dying out as people turned to stare at me, sweaty, disheveled me in my stained shirt and kitchen apron, holding a phone and being addressed as Major. I understand, sir, I replied, automatically straightening to attention despite being in a kitchen. What's the timeline? We need you on a plane to Germany in 6 hours. This is classified at the highest levels. Major, the satellite defense systems you designed. They're our only option to counter this threat. Satellite defense systems I designed. The words hung in the air like a bomb. The entire reception had gone silent now. Emma's face was pale, her mouth slightly open. Margaret looked like she'd been struck by lightning. Dad was staring at me with an expression I'd never seen before, something between shock and awe. Sir, I'm currently at a family event, I said, still processing the surreal moment. But I can be ready within the hour. Outstanding, Major. A car will be at your location in 30 minutes. This is a matter of national security. Your country is counting on you. I hung up the phone and looked around at the sea of stunned faces. The venue coordinator was backing away slowly, clearly realizing she'd been handing kitchen duties to a high-ranking military officer. The caterers had stopped what they were doing and were staring at me with new respect. Margaret's face was cycling through colors, white to red to purple. Emma's carefully applied makeup couldn't hide her shock. But it was Dad's expression that got to me most. For the first time in 16 years, he was looking at me like he was proud. Major, Margaret whispered, her voice cracking. I untied my apron slowly, hanging it on a nearby hook. Yes, Major. I've been serving in military intelligence for the past 10 years. I hold 2 master's degrees in computer science and international relations, earned while deployed. I designed the satellite defense systems currently protecting NATO countries from cyber attacks. The silence stretched out painfully. Someone's champagne glass slipped from nerveless fingers, shattering on the marble floor. I also hold the Medal of Honor. I continued, my voice steady now, for actions taken during a classified mission in Afghanistan. I've briefed presidents and NATO commanders. Last month, I was offered a position as the youngest full colonel in military intelligence history. Emma made a small, choked sound. The trust fund husband was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. I looked directly at Margaret. But tonight, I was asked to hide in the kitchen because I'm not really family. Margaret's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. No sound came out. Dad stepped forward, tears in his eyes. David, we didn't know. You never said. I tried to tell you. I said simply. For years, I tried. But nobody ever asked what I was really doing. Nobody was interested in my life, my achievements, my service to our country. I was just the disappointment, the burden, the one who wasn't really family. The car arrived exactly when promised. Through the venue's large windows, we could all see the black SUV with government plates pulling up, along with 2 serious-looking men in dark suits. I walked toward the exit, then paused at the main table where Emma sat in her beautiful white dress, still speechless with shock. Congratulations on your wedding, Emma, I said genuinely. I hope you'll be very happy. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Her perfect day had just been shattered by the revelation that her loser stepbrother was actually a decorated war hero and national security asset. Margaret finally found her voice as I reached the door. David, wait. We didn't know. If we had known. I turned back to face the room full of relatives, family friends, and wedding guests who were all staring at me with a mixture of awe and shame. If you had known what, Margaret? That I was worth your respect? That I deserved to be treated like family? I shook my head. The rank doesn't matter. The medals don't matter. What matters is that you never once, in 16 years, treated me like I belonged. You never asked about my dreams, my struggles, my achievements. You decided I was worthless, and you made sure everyone else saw me that way too. Dad took a step toward me, his face crumpling. Son, please, don't go. We can fix this. We can. I have to go, Dad. My country needs me. I looked around the room one final time. Maybe when I get back, we can talk about what family really means. But right now, I have actual work to do. As I walked out, I could hear voices erupting behind me. Shocked conversations, Margaret's defensive explanations, Emma's tears. But I didn't look back. The men in suits greeted me respectfully. Major Thompson, we have your gear in the car. Are you ready, sir? I'm ready, I said, meaning it in more ways than one. As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of the wedding party through the rear window, all of them standing in the venue's entrance, watching me disappear into the night. Margaret was arguing frantically with Dad while guests clustered around them, no doubt demanding explanations. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. 6 months later, when I returned from the classified mission that helped prevent an international cyber attack, the calls started. Margaret, desperate to repair her reputation after word spread through the family about what had happened at Emma's wedding. Emma herself, crying and apologizing, begging me to be part of her life. Relatives who'd ignored me for years, suddenly very interested in reconnecting. But by then, I'd learned something valuable. Real family isn't about blood or marriage certificates. It's about the people who see your worth, even when you're nobody special, who stand by you during your struggles, who celebrate your victories as if they were their own. I'd found that kind of family in my military unit, among brothers and sisters in arms who'd earned my loyalty through mutual respect and shared sacrifice. They were the ones who truly knew me, who valued me for who I was, not what I could do for them. As for Margaret's family, well, they learned too late that respect can't be demanded retroactively. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. And sometimes, that's exactly how it should be. The phone call that interrupted Emma's perfect wedding wasn't just a summons to serve my country. It was the moment I finally stopped trying to earn love from people who were never going to give it and started building a life with those who already had. That night, covered in kitchen sweat and dismissed as not really family, I walked away from their cruelty and into my real purpose. It was the best decision I ever made.